Welcome back to Spitballin Cards. In today's episode, we're talking about the unanimous MVPs and the other award winners and what might happen to their cards. We're also going to discuss the high-end redemptions that Fanatics is putting into place and if they're a good or a bad thing for the hobby, as well as Mike Trout re-signing some of his own cards and then being slabbed by BGS. Okay, so let's introduce who is in the podcast this week. We have Jeff and Chris. We have Jeff, who's my favorite cardboard, and Chris, who's baseball card addict. If you enjoy their opinions and thoughts, they actually have their own YouTube channel called Blabbin' About Slabbin'. It's a very good YouTube channel. I enjoy it, which obviously is why they're here with us. And then we have Phil Filmington, who also has a YouTube channel, and Phil does a great job on his channel as well. And my name's Scott. I have a YouTube channel called Scotty V Cards, and all four of us have a YouTube channel called Spitballin Cards, and you're watching it right now. So let's dive into the first topic, which is going to be the unanimous MVPs. And the reason why we're talking about the unanimous MVPs, because it's the first time I believe in baseball history, at least as long as it's recorded, that both MVPs in the AL and the NL were decided by all 30 voters as the MVP. And I don't think that's too surprising for Ohtani, but it was a little bit surprising for Ronald Acuna Jr. because Mookie had a great August, bad September. But, maybe some LA voters would have voted for him. And in regards to overall value, is pretty close. But Acuna did have a very illustrious season with the 40-70 club and everything there. So, Phil, what are your thoughts about both of these unanimous MVPs?
I don't think enough people are talking about it, to be honest. I don't know if people realize how rare the feat is. Like, sure, get 5 people together in a room or 30 people together in a room, and maybe you'll have some sort of group think, and I'll be like, yeah, sure, like Ohtani deserves it this year. But when it comes down to it, usually the votes don't all go one way. We saw it with Mariano Rivera, Hall of Fame, very different story. More people voting, right?
Yeah.
With Jeter, he didn't get it. People made a big deal out of it. But then again, kind of going back to what people were used to, like the unanimous votes are not usually a thing. And with Ohtani, is this now 2 unanimous MVPs for him? I think that's a big deal when all said and done. I do think Ohtani this year was probably baked in that he was going to be unanimous. I do not think Acuna was, even though he went 40-70. For a brief moment in time, I know it wasn't the end of the season, but at some point in August, late August, Mookie Betts was actually the favorite by Vegas to be the MVP winner. And then, of course, he took September off, and then here we are. Looking at their total lines, one against each other, like Mookie had a pretty comparable, number. I think Acuna beat him in almost everything. But if you look at some of those advanced stats, WAR, WRC plus, OPS plus, like those tended to be really close, and that's often what they look at, right? So I think that Acuna deserved it. I thought that it would have went down like 27 out of 30, first place votes. But the fact that he got all of them, I think it's really cool. I think it wasn't baked in, and I think it might actually be a decent time to be buying Acuna right now because his stuff is down.
Yeah, and I'm one of the biggest Mookie fans you'll meet, and I think he totally deserved to be unanimous, in my opinion. And if I had a vote, it would have been exactly how it ended up. Really unique thing about it, there was actually more history because Mookie received all 30 second place votes, which is the first time that ever happened. And obviously the first time it's ever happened that number 1 and number 2 are the exact same on all 30 ballots. And that's pretty crazy to think about. But I agree with you, Phil. I really think there is an opportunity with Ronald Acuna Jr.'s cards. People don't really know what they're targeting currently, aside from the Bowman Chrome autograph. Maybe that's not a great target. But there's other things out there that seem like they're flying under the radar. Short prints, rare cards, some numbered cards, some numbered sets and things. So, Chris, I know you're a huge Acuna fan. So what are your thoughts on it?
My thoughts about Acuna are always the same. I have what can only be described as an unhealthy man crush on him. By the way, I don't know if people watching, if you have the ability to like record or check out the MLB Awards special where they announced it, they had Acuna, Betts, and Freeman on video for an interview before they announced the award. And the 3 guys were all like hilarious. That interview was it's 5 of the best minutes I think MLB Network has had on in a long time. Like Acuna's in the Venezuela league locker room. Betts was in line to pick up his kids at school, and Freddie Freeman was sipping whiskey at his house. And they all respect each other. It was a great watch. If you can find it, maybe it's on the MLB TV YouTube page, or it might be on their Instagram. I highly recommend it. But Acuna was great from beginning to end. He was the NL Player of the Month in April and the NL Player of the Month in September, and he did it one more time in between. So he did not take a month off. His consistencies were absurd. I think he was 2020 in the first half and 2020 in the second half. Like he didn't rest. I think he had like 1 3-game stretch where he was like 0 for 11, and that's about it. So he was great. And amazingly, like unanimous MVP, some of his card values are still actively dropping.
Yeah.
We were just talking about, we saw a Sapphire PSA 10 sell at auction for exactly $3,000, which is a new low for that card. Someone got a steal there. You know, someone who probably didn't deserve it, but someone did get a steal there. So yeah, I would say Acuna definitely, there's a really interesting buying time.
I also want to say I'm really happy that he had a 40-70 season, because if you had like a 40-50 season or a 40-45 season, people would have really been bringing up he only had a 40-40 season because of the new rules. But where it's 40-70, you can't, you know what I mean? It's such a big number where he would have gotten a 40-40 even under the regular rules. So I'm really happy for Acuna and Acuna collectors that happened.
By the way, he also homered that day. The opening day of his Venezuelan league, he homered in that game too. So he's not resting. He's not taking any time off.
The opposite field home run power he has is just insane. And if he can lean into that as he ages, it's going to be even more insane. Jeff,
for such like an effortless swing, it seems like it's crazy.
You always think it's a fly out to the right fielder, and then all of a sudden it's 5 rows up. Jeff, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, just quickly about him, for all the power he has, the most surprising thing to me this year was his batting average. He was getting on base all the time, getting base hits, just hitting the ball hard everywhere around the park. And like Chris said, his consistency is what really set him apart. And maybe defensively, Mookie had a little bit more, had a little bit higher rankings defensively and had more flexibility, which could go into, it could be sort of a tie-breaking situation. But I think because of Acuna's consistency, most voters just thought that he was the way to go. And I think the other surprising thing was that there was virtually no drama in the awards. Five of the major six awards were unanimous, and the other one was almost unanimous. So it was a little surprising, because even as late as August, it seemed like there was going to be more drama than there was. And I know that MLB is building up this now, trying to sort of capture the mystery of things by having finalists and then having an award ceremony, which they didn't used to have. But I think this year was a little bit of a letdown as far as they were concerned with the drama there.
Is it only because that we've kind of gotten to a point, all the writers, where they view things very similarly with these advanced metrics, or is it more so because all of the performance was significantly better than everybody else, in your opinion? Anybody, like, is there something there, or is it just because we're looking at WAR, WRC plus, and these specific metrics to really determine best value, and we're accepted on that? Or was, Blake Snell just that much better than everybody else in the NL? What are your thoughts, Phil?
Yeah, I think when it's hard to explain this with Acuna and Betts, because again, like, advanced stats were pretty close between the two. But if you're to take that situation off the table, I think you're onto something. I think what's made voters lazy is, instead of concentrating on 15 to 20 different stats, now it's 3 to 5 are the dominant ones, particularly from a hitting perspective. With pitching, I think there's still a lot that goes into it. Wins have been de-emphasized. ERA has been de-emphasized, but not enough, because it's certainly helped out Blake Snell. Yeah, I think voters are probably more aligned with each other than they ever have been.
And do you view that as a bad thing?
I think it's great that we have these new stats that are great at telling a narrative by themselves. So single stats that tell a great story, but I still think you need to look at everything else. Chris, I'll give you credit for this. He's just dropped this in the notes, but Ronald Acuna cutting his strikeout rate in half. That's something that they definitely noticed, right? Things like that will still matter. And team placement certainly matters. And it helped the guys like Simeon and Seager lock up number 2, number 3. The fact that they were on a team that made the playoffs. J-Rod being number 5, his team made the playoffs. Bobby Witt did not. So not saying he would have been number 5, but he probably would have been a closer call between him and J-Rod if his team had made the playoffs.
One thing I want to point out on Ronald Acuna Jr., this is his baseball savant page. So 100th percentile means he was the best at something. You see a lot of 100s. Really, his fielding was great besides his range was really bad, which we've seen a lot of the balls drop in that probably shouldn't have, according to like predictions off of launch angle and exit velocity. But if we scroll down, there was something different about him this year. We see a lot of red every single year. And if you're listening on Spotify, I'm showing his Baseball Savant page and we're looking at the actual metrics. But there's some things that just jumped up like crazy higher than we've ever seen. And I don't think it was a fluke, right? So we can see, first of all, his average exit velocity is 94.7 miles an hour. That is number one, top 1% of the league. He had 93.8 1 year in 2021. So we saw that coming before he got hurt. But then if we look over here as well, I want to show his expected batting average. He lowered his launch angle lower than it's ever been to 7.4%. So more line drive focused. And we hit the ball so hard, it'll still go out of the ballpark type of a thing. And then we can see his expected batting average was 356. And his highest before that was 295. So all of these things were a conscious decision and it was consistent. And if we go look at his strikeout rate, it dropped from 23.6 as the lowest down to 11.4%, which is 97th percentile. So as someone who like looks at stats a lot of the time to determine, is this a real breakout or a fake breakout? There's lucky stretches where someone might be good for a month, like Matt Chapman was, and then he was bad. I do not feel that way about Acuna. And I have always leaned more into Juan Soto over Ronald Acuna Jr. And now it might not be that way. I don't know. I could definitely see the argument that Acuna, if he continues this offensive barrage up, he's better in every way than Juan Soto, which Soto always had a higher floor because of his offense, but now who knows? So
yeah, it's a crazy combination, right? I mean, he's striking out way less and he's striking out almost as fewest times as anybody, hitting the ball harder than anybody. It's a pretty great combination for success. He also has the hardest hit ball of the StatCast era, which I think came off Lance Lynn. So maybe it should be discounted by about 7 or 8 miles per hour just to kind of even that up. But yeah, you're talking about like, I think you're right about the writers all looking in the same general direction for stats. Like, have we ever seen the MLB leader in homers and RBIs not even finish top 3 in his league at MVP before? That's a question. I don't know the answer. I should have looked.
That's a great question. I'll see if I can find that out, but that'll take me a minute. That's a great question, though. But I will say it was interesting that Freddie Freeman and Matt Olson, they were 3rd and 4th on every single ballot, and they had 13 and 17 respectively. So like it was really close in actual vote points. But to me, I know you would have put, I want to ask the group, would you have put Olson or Freeman ahead of each other? I would have put Freeman at 3rd personally. I liked the total number of extra base hits. I liked his batting average. I liked a lot of stuff about it myself. And his base running was amazing, over 20-something stolen bases. So I would have picked him. I know we can see Chris as Matt Olson turning around right now, show that jersey. Phil, who would you have taken out of those two?
Freeman for the same reasons, just a more complete player this year. And offensively, didn't have the power as Matt Olson, didn't have the slugging percentage. But I mean, he had the doubles and well-rounded very much from an offensive standpoint too.
And Jeff, you're the tiebreaker here. Who are you taking?
Agreed. I'm Freeman all the way, but I mean, I could see why Olson was close.
If Ty was here, he would have said Olson. So
I think so,
because he's a Braves fan a little bit. But yeah, it was a great award season. It was a great season. It was really fun. And I know we might have bothered some Rangers fans by saying that the World Series is anticlimactic a little bit. But overall, like I don't think Major League Baseball could have gotten a better season. So I'm excited about baseball moving forward. And I think all the rule changes were good. I don't think any of us had any gripes with them. And I hope pitch clock's next, but that's just me. Not pitch clock. The strike zone, electronic strike zone's next. Forgive me.
So I wanted to ask you guys, did you see anything like down ballot that you sort of liked? Like things that got you a little bit excited? Like Jeff and I were just happy that Devers got a couple of votes down the ballot. So, for people that like his cards, collect him like I do, I can always, it's always good to get a couple of votes to keep him in the relevant conversation. I think Alvarez was top 10. I think in the American League, despite missing like 5 or 6 weeks. That's pretty impressive. But I'm wondering if Chris Martin will get any baseball card love, because someone in the American League put him was it 5th or 6th, Jeff, in the Cy Young vote?
Way too high. It was way too high. Yeah.
He got 1 vote. I don't know. Some ball. Maybe his wife is a writer in Boston. I don't know. But I think he threw like 50 innings this year and somehow got himself in the middle of a Cy Young ballot.
He had a great season.
He did.
1.05 ERA.
For sure.
Yeah, great. Yeah, 50 innings though. So the one that stood out to me because I have kind of a rooting interest is Jose Ramirez had another top 10 MVP finished. He finished 10th. That is the 6th time in 7 years he's finished in the top 10 for MVP voting. So Mr. Consistency, that's great for his Hall of Fame case. Not saying he's a Hall of Famer now, but even if he has a normal aging curve, he has that peak you can look back to as a Hall of Fame voter. And I think that's great for his Hall of Fame chances.
Yeah, Austin Riley finished 7th as well. Sorry.
That's a big deal too.
Yeah, so that's 3 years in a row. I think he's been 7th, 6th, 7th, like in his first 3 full, not counting the COVID season. He's been top 7 every time.
Yeah, I was just going to mention Soto even finishing 6th despite his horrifically slow start and what a lot of people call a down year. So it was good to see him crack that top 6 still.
I just love baseball, by the way. I just love this sport because this actually matters to Hall of Fame voting. You know, it's interesting how I don't know if it matters in the NFL if you were 4th in MVP voting or if in basketball, but they look at these peaks and this type of stuff makes it exciting because it actually does matter a little bit. Phil.
Yeah, no, just curious. I didn't see the 6 through 10. By the way, was J-Rod 4th or 5th? I might have got that flipped.
He was 4th.
Oh, okay. I said 5th.
I believe.
And who was 6th?
I'm going to show you
Where was
right
Witt?
now.
Yeah, let's just pull it up.
6 was Yandy Diaz, probably
Okay.
deserving. Honestly, he had a good year, 5.2 WAR. Well, had that batting title, so that's great. 932 OPS, like it probably deserved it. Witt was 7th. I really hope Bobby Witt can maintain the defense he had and then can get his on base up from basically 300. If he can do that, he's going to be a very good player with his speed. Another big one, Gunnar Henderson was 8th, right ahead of Adley Rutschman. Rutschman might have been a little bit high to me, to be completely honest with you, but great for him. Who else? Anybody that surprised us? Josh Naylor got an MVP vote. That's random. Cal Raleigh.
I felt like Lewis Roberts should have been higher. Like
Yeah.
he had a pretty great season out of Chicago. That team, unfortunately, just sort of lit itself on fire, but he had a great season.
38 home runs. Like you're saying, I think MVP's changed so much for looking at all-around value, where 38 home runs would have put him higher in the past, in my opinion.
When is also the last time we had 2 rookies of the year both finish top 10 in MVP voting? I feel like that can't happen very often.
That can't be super common. You're absolutely right. And if you look at the NL, Corbin Carroll was top 5, which is great. And if we scroll down further, Lindor had a sneakily amazing season. Not like OPS wise, but 30-30 season with elite Gold Glove caliber defense. Anything else stand out? Bryce Harper. This might not look like a huge deal for Bryce Harper, but this is only like one of the 4th time since his rookie season he's got MVP votes. So that's really great for him to have on his resume.
He definitely got credit for coming back early, for gutting it out for the first like 5 or so weeks. Clearly not close to 100%.
Totally agree. Tatis got some MVP votes. Good for him. I'm really happy that he was able to be such a solid defensive player. That's great.
Platinum glove too.
Platinum glove. Yeah, which is awesome. So
new position, just like platinum glove. Thank you. It's like
so I went to the spring training game against the who was it? The Mariners. And Tatis had one of the worst played balls I've ever seen in the outfield. And we were right behind the home plate, my dad and I. And we were just laughing, saying how bad he was going to be this year. And he won the platinum glove. If you'd have told us that after that play, we wouldn't have believed you. So that's kind of cool to see. All right. Well, I think that's good. Any other final thoughts about the MVP award results or anything before we jump to the next topic?
Yeah, I just want to say we didn't mention Ohtani's in relation to his card values very much. And I think a lot of that is because of the injury. So there's a lot of uncertainty where he's going to play, how he's going to do just hitting. So, otherwise, if he had been coming off a fully healthy season, I think a fully healthy season and into the free agency season, I think we'd see a lot more activity in his cards.
I agree. That injury hurt his cards heavy. And obviously, he might have been a little bit overheated. But if he stayed healthy, his numbers he would approach 13 WAR probably. Like it would have been one of the best seasons we've ever seen. And it was still great, but it would have been advanced metrics, traditional metrics for both hitting and pitching. It would have been a big season. So
50 plus
definitely.
homers in addition to his career best batting average and
Yep.
OPS.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, it was probably the best 5 months of baseball we've ever seen.
So this is not on the agenda, but I've actually wondered this, and this could be a topic in and of itself, but I want to hear your thoughts. Has Ohtani kind of ruined Trout for baseball card collectors? Because Trout used to be like, wow, look at these 3 MVPs, look at these consistent MVP finishes, and it was special. It was special. But now it doesn't look special at all compared to what Ohtani's doing. Obviously, Trout's hurt, and it's happening at the same time. Has this kind of hurt the long-term collectability of Mike Trout a little bit?
I mean, to be fair, no one looks special next to Shohei Ohtani.
Exactly.
No one. Even Acuna's baseball card commercial, which by the way is fantastic. If you guys haven't seen it, like even he's collecting only Ohtani cards in the commercial. So I mean, it's sure it hurts Trout. I think one player being so much better than everyone else and so much more popular, like worldwide, is going to slowly or slightly hurt everyone a little bit. But I don't know. Not Trout specifically, I wouldn't say. I don't know.
Yeah. I think Trout hurts Mike Trout.
Yeah,
I think, he could, he could point to Shohei Ohtani. You could point to Patrick Mahomes is hurting Justin Herbert's values. You could, if Eloy Jimenez had stayed healthy, it would be Eloy's fault that Trout's values went down, right? It had to be somebody. And everybody flamed out except for Ohtani, basically, if you were to really like sum things up. I don't think him being on the same team hurt him as much as a lot of people think, because I made this point in another episode, but in 2021, the highest selling Bowman Chrome autographs in baseball were all coming from the same team, the top 3, Pujols, Ohtani, Trout, all on the same team. That didn't bother anybody. There's no cannibalization going on. Or if there is, it's not noticeable. But there was going to be another guy to take that spotlight, and Trout's doing a great job himself of being as far away from the spotlight as possible, hobby-wise.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Okay, let's jump to the next topic. So I wanted to talk about this one because I think it's interesting, and maybe it's not as big of a deal as I thought it was, but I still want to talk about it. We recently have heard fanatics talk about how the what are they called? The MLB debut patch cards, right? The super sought after and Topps Chrome update. Those are redemptions in everything but Breakers Delight boxes. They claimed it's due to them not wanting to get damaged in packaging shipping, which is cool. That's cool. And so the redemptions, and apparently they don't expire. I found that out, which is great. So that's one of the first things that we've seen in a long time from fanatics. Do we think it's interesting? Because now we just saw the Babe Ruth and Shohei Ohtani dual autograph pulled, and that was a redemption as well. So is Topps going to keep leaning into these redemptions? Is that an issue? Do you like that? Do you hate that? Does it take away some of the excitement of pulling and holding the card, or do you have no gripes with it? Let's start with you, Jeff. What's your take on it?
I think it definitely takes away from some of the magic of pulling the card itself out. But at the same time, I don't open a lot of packs, so I'm probably not exactly the target audience. I would love to see that card. I'd love to see the Ohtani and Ruth card. We've seen the mock-ups of it, and now the redemption card, which describes it. It's a pretty cool redemption card. It looked really nice, but we still don't get to see the card, and who knows when we will, if whoever gets it in the break. Which, did you know how that was decided? What team got it?
Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea.
Be a heartbreaker if you have the Yankees and lose a coin flip.
It's gotta be like pistols at dawn. I think there's no other way to determine that.
Oh,
that'd be a brutal race.
I know. So my favorite breakers, Card Smith's Breaks. I don't know if you guys ever watch their videos on YouTube. I love those guys. And they've pulled me some cool stuff in the past. But they always say top left. And Ohtani, I believe, was top left. And so if he's top left,
that's who on the card.
Yeah, whoever is the top or like the left, like in that quadrant, that's who gets it. And I like that myself, because then you just know, even if you had the chance to pull it, you would never have gotten it. I like that they do that personally. And maybe they would have done something different for this card because it's a special situation. But I would not want to be the one running the randomized generator on that card. Just me.
Yeah.
I don't personally mind the redemption thing at all. I think like for the MLB debut patches, like they're doing that white glove redemption. I think that's kind of a cool thing. And it is nice to know the cards aren't going to get beat up in like some retail box that's sitting at Walmart or thrown around a hobby truck or something. As long as those cards don't have like the codes you have to scratch off on the back, because I have scratched off. I mean, I've not handled a lot of redemptions, but I have scratched off those codes on about half of the cards I've tried to unscratch. So I'm assuming these don't have those. But again, redemptions don't really bother me. I think it's fine. Again, I've always said I'll take redemptions over stickers all day long, and as long as the redemptions don't have expirations. So people like Phil and Jeff that love to collect their wax. It's important, I think, that the autos always be available from Topps. I never understood why they would expire to begin with. Like if they have the card, if Topps has the card, why do they care when we get the redemption? I never really got that.
Agreed. I just want to say with the white glove treatment that you're talking about, I'm going to be very interested to see what the condition of those cards is with the white glove treatment. Somebody's going to get it hand delivered with the white gloves and it's still going to have a big ding in the corner or be bent. So I'll be interested to see. I really hope they're in good shape, considering that's why they're using the redemption.
They're going to get some sick BGS 4s.
Yeah, that would be terrible. If you ask Topps to go straight to BGS and then to your house and it comes back like a 5.
And Topps has already posted it all over and can't even crack it out.
Yeah. So I think the broader theme of them doing a lot of redemptions or even sticker autographs in products that normally wouldn't have them, which I don't know, Topps Chrome Update kind of always did. But if we're just talking about redemptions here, it becomes, and the reason why I bring up sticker autographs is because a lot of this is logistical. It's how do we get the product out on time? And you have to print the entire set, from what I understand, all at once. You can't just print portions of it. So and the same goes with the checklists or the like the subsets, whether it's an insert subset, whether it's an autograph subset, when then you've got to print the entire sheet all at once. So with a card that has a game used material, yes, we know the patch was there. It was produced earlier. But then that has to be collected probably, and then that has to be made as part of the card. Then it has to go back to the player. Then they have to sign it in season. So logistically, there's a lot there. Again, like last year was a tough year for them to get stuff out on time. So I think numero uno, objective number one, is to like get that straightened out, which I think they've done a decent job this year. Not the best. Stadium Club, I know, like some of these sets are still getting delayed. But I think they're probably focusing on that first, and maybe we can't judge them till like a year or two down the line. They've said publicly, we hope to eventually get out of this. I didn't think they meant it like right away, like, oh, there's not going to be any redemptions ever again. As what you guys are saying, it is nice that at least these don't have an expiration date, which is different. And one of the reasons why they probably do the 2 or 3 years. Now it's 2 years for almost every product. It used to be 3 years for, I think, Bowman products. I think it's to incentivize people to open it, right? More people that open it, it's more revenues for them. It almost relates like directly, right? So, I mean, I'm not too upset about this. I know there's a lot of kind of conspiracies out there with now Topps knows which hits are going into the Breakers Delight boxes, which aren't intended exclusively for breakers, right? Like all of us could buy those products. They just happen to be called Breakers Delights. But they are kind of what's being pitched to Fanatics Live because it is a quicker way for them to kind of turn around products. It's easier to ship and sort. It's sort of a breaker's dream to get like a small number of cards in a high dollar value. These things are still selling for $250 plus. And I guess, yeah, their reasoning for it is because those boxes have like a different, like another layer of protection. So the cards won't get damaged. So like, I don't know. I don't know why they would say that unless they thought it was somewhat true. And of the cards that have been, of the MLB debut patches that have been pulled from those Breaker Delight boxes, they've been no-name guys. It hasn't been anybody special yet, from what I've seen at least.
Yeah. So my one conspiracy theory, and then I think we can move on, is do you think there's any validity that maybe they are actually putting them as redemptions so breakers can't swipe them? Topps can be like the governing third body if some random whatnot breaker pulls it and then they don't actually give it to someone, that they don't actually have the card. Is there something there, or do you think that's nothing to do with it?
Well,
It's
I
an
would
added
just say
benefit. Go ahead.
what I was just going to say. I get what you're saying, but about adding that layer of protection. But at the same time, is Topps going to come in and arbitrate the decision? Then what's to stop that breaker from sending it in on their own or sending it in with somebody else?
No, you're not wrong. That's a great point. But I can just imagine, right? Like someone just doesn't ship it in a box and then somehow it still pops up and Topps can say, actually, the rightful owner was this person. And they shouldn't be the arbitrator. I agree. But I feel like there has to be some more accountability of having the physical card versus a redemption in your hand. Maybe it's not as enticing to steal, but maybe it's also nothing. So that was my only conspiracy theory I had.
I have another quick sort of conspiracy theory at a Topps Chrome update. One of our Instagram buddies, Canadians of the Hobby, has been doing some photography research here, and a lot of the Major League debut cards in these images, you can't see the debut patches on the jersey, even though some of the players are being photographed like from the side, or you could see like this spot on the jersey, and it's not there. So he's starting to get a little antsy about the patches, but I think it's more likely that they just took a photo from a random game and threw it on the MLB debut card.
Absolutely. That just sounds like laziness. And
yeah,
I mean,
we've seen a lot of that. So that's the more likely scenario.
Have we seen Fanatics or Topps shy away from that at times? I don't think so. But that's really cool. I would love to see the results when he gets everything done, if he can identify the games.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, any final thoughts on these redemptions, or are we good? Okay. Final topic. Actually, there might be 1.5 topics. The first one, Chris, I want to do your would you rather. I really want to hear what you've gotten for us this week.
All right. So as you can probably guess, if you're familiar with my Instagram page, I watch a lot of Freddie Freeman auctions, and I watch a lot of Freddie Freeman cards. I'm sort of cyber stalking Freddie Freeman. His cards, I mean, of course, only the cards. So two sold over the weekend that I thought were pretty interesting, and they went for really close numbers. So do you want me to give you all the information on 2 cards, or have you guys sort of think about which one you'd rather have without all the info, like pop reports and that kind of stuff? Do you want it all up front?
Let's hear the cards first without the price and pop reports.
Okay. All right.
Just gut, and then we'll do that other stuff.
Okay. So 2 PSA 10s over the weekend. The first one, his 2009 Bowman Chrome first autograph, the base auto, PSA 10. The second card, 2011 Topps Gold Rookie, numbered out of 2011, and also in a PSA 10. So these 2 cards sold for very, very close to the same amount. Without knowing anything else, which one would you be more interested in owning?
Give me the PSA 10.
Aha. Okay.
Just kidding.
So,
the autograph. They're both PSA 10. But I'll take the autograph.
Okay.
I'll take the gold.
All right.
If the autograph's clean on the
autograph looked great. It was a bold autograph. Autograph was fine.
I'd probably have to go with that then.
Okay. All right, so I'll give you a little more information. The Bowman Chrome auto is a Pop 21, which is really low for a base auto. Most of his stuff is sitting over a BGS, or it's in no condition to be a PSA 10. The 2011 Topps Gold, that's a card people like. It's the oldest parallel Topps does, and like the Acuna, the Soto at update, they're like 200 and some odd PSA 10s. Freddie Freeman's is 17 PSA 10s out of 115 that have been sent in. So it's a really, really low percentage, and it's a really low number. And I can tell you, it has not really moved in the past 2 years. So I don't think a whole bunch of those are coming out of the woodwork anytime soon.
So my thoughts on this, I think personally, if whoever bought that gold, that's great. But he has Topps Chrome gold. He has Topps Chrome refractors. He has other things that are better versions of that flagship image to me.
Hey, aren't you a rookie card collector, Scott?
I am, but I'm also logical. But that Bowman Chrome autograph to me, like, it's the Bowman Chrome autograph. There's still like 21 of them. 21 versus 17. It's that's such a low number, especially compared to nowadays. That 2009 set was always off center. It always had print lines. It always had issues. So if I had my choice, I am easy that option.
Okay, I will tell you that he does not have a lot of PSA 10s across the board. Like the Topps Chrome Gold, he's got 1, and someone in this group has it. We won't have to name names. He doesn't have there's no Topps Black PSA 10s. Like there's very few rookie PSA 10s of Freeman outside of the Topps Diamond. That one's got like 300 and some odd. I mean, same thing with Chop. That one's pretty easy to gem, but he does not have a lot of PSA 10 rookies. Now, just throwing that.
Easiest way to look at this is print runs, right? I mean, the print run's probably still lower on the Bowman Chrome autograph. And you get the autograph card, you get the first, you get that Grail card, and it's not with a fielding pose. So, and by the way, I won the Topps Gold card. So,
Did you really?
I didn't know the other card was available. You guys didn't tell me.
That's
I sent you the Topps Gold. I didn't send you the other one. I was actually thinking about making an offer on it myself.
I see you.
That's
I know how you work. I wanted both.
So do you feel like you overpaid now, Phil?
No, I think I paid a fair price. I've
Okay.
got a friend who will probably buy it from me. So thanks for the tip, Chris.
No problem. You definitely did not overpay. The highest sale on that card is $3,000
Wow.
on the Topps Gold.
What an idiot.
Just so you know. But I do think that the base auto went for way less than it should have. $850 for a PSA 10.
That doesn't make any sense. Like that's something I would have bought myself if I'd have seen it.
It was the best offer accepted. I should hold on. Let me see what the original asking was. What?
Oh, that was the best offer accepted. It wasn't an auction.
It was not an auction.
Oh, so maybe someone just needed the money.
Yeah.
That's the type of card that I think you could auction and be relatively safe auctioning.
I would think so.
Like there's not many I would say that about right
Maybe.
now, but I don't know. Man.
Just don't do it thinking that you're going to get some sort of top 3 MVP bump or MVP bump because right now is not the best time to be selling baseball cards, in my opinion.
Wait until January or February.
Yeah. And it could be broader than just cyclical stuff, but just from a cyclical perspective, seasonality, this is why I'm buying a lot of cards this month. By far my biggest month buying stuff. I'll show off some stuff on IG eventually.
Jeff, what's your thoughts? I feel like Phil and I have said a lot.
Well, they both sound like they were acquired for relative bargains. I love that the gold because, like Chris said, there's just the gem percentage is so low on that card, which I guess I didn't realize it was quite so. Well, I don't know how many Bowman Chrome first autos were sent in to PSA. I know
the total number. Yeah, it's about 125 at PSA and 21. So the percentage is pretty close.
Pretty similar.
So they all went to Beckett because that was back
brilliant.
When Beckett was huge, especially for Bowman Chrome stuff.
Right. So I don't know. So I'm being swayed though. I think both of you made compelling arguments, and if I see that at 850 again, I'm gonna have to put a bid in on it.
I don't think you overpaid at 850, Phil. I just didn't realize that the autograph went for that low.
No. Phil's was 790. And
Yeah.
I thought under $800, I thought it was a great buy for a Pop 17 of the oldest parallel Topps makes. I mean,
it's like a 75% haircut from the top.
Yeah,
isn't that crazy? Well, great. So I think we have 2 minutes left, 2 or 3 minutes left. So I think we could talk about this last topic really quick. Anything else you want to discuss, Chris, on that? Or are you good to jump to the last topic?
I could discuss it for 45 more minutes. So let's just jump right ahead. Cut me off and let's keep going.
So Mike Trout, you guys ever heard of him? He's a really good baseball player. Plays for the Angels from Millville, New Jersey. He has a orange Bowman Chrome autograph number 25 that was wiped because the autograph was extremely faded, and we can do this based off of the serial numbering on the back. And it was re-signed and was sent to BGS and got graded by BGS. There was obviously it's his new autograph versus his original autograph. I'll actually find the Twitter thread really quick because I can show the photos of this. But I want to talk about, does this feel like altering the card? Are you cool with this? Would you buy this? Would you pay a premium? Would you pay less than a premium to have Mike Trout re-sign it with a beautiful Mike Trout bold autograph? But it is the original card, just not the original autograph. What are your thoughts on it? I'll go with Jeff first.
All right. Well, first of all, it was sold in 2021 by Golden for around $20,000, which is a high price, but way less than what an original pack-pulled Bowman Chrome orange auto would be of Mike Trout. And that's reasonable to me because it's not the original version. Oh, and I see Scotty pulled up the card on here. If you're listening on Spotify, you can see how faded the original auto was. So it was wiped down, and then they had Mike Trout sign it in person. So selling at that $20,000 price point seemed reasonable to me. And now that it's shown back up in a BGS slab, without any mention of that, I think is a little bit misleading, and I would not want to buy it for its current asking price.
I will say shout out to Mario Baseball Card Blog. This has been floating around for a long time, but his post today is what spurred this conversation. So I want to make sure I give him that credit. But I don't know how I feel. I don't really view it as altering unless like they used some type of substance to wipe this, then maybe. But like that's something that's taboo in the hobby is wax and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, Mike Trout still signed this card. So it's interesting. It isn't the original autograph, but it's still Mike Trout's autograph. And I would argue out of all of the Mike Trout autographs, this one probably looks the coolest because it is re-signed. But at the same time, like, do we want to make that a precedent or we're seeing people do this all the time? I would say probably not. And I can totally get why it sold for less. But Phil, what's your thoughts?
This card here, because it was technically not in a BGS slab, it was in a BAS slab. I think that technically, I wouldn't say that is disclosing that it's not the original autograph, but I think that was chosen because the autograph is not original, perhaps. You think there's something there with the BAS thing going on?
I do.
Clearly, the card and the autograph are being graded there, but the autograph's not being graded as being part of the card. There's something there. I don't understand autographs enough, but that might be why when this card keeps on selling at auction houses, and I'm not sure when exactly the wipe and the rewriting of the autograph happened, if that was like before that golden sale or whatever it was in like 2021 or afterwards. But that might be why they don't feel like they need to disclose, like, this is not the original autograph. But personally, me, I'm not spending the full amount. I'm probably spending a fraction, 50% or less, just based on knowing that autograph was wiped. And that, again, it always comes back to liquidity. With me, I'm going to have to tell that to somebody, when I sell it to them.
Every time.
If it's in person, if it's on my eBay account, like, if you value your reputation, you're going to want to make it as clear as possible. You don't want somebody to think they're getting an awesome deal, right? If it sells as soon as you list it on eBay, you made a mistake. You probably didn't disclose what you had to, or somebody was misled. Maybe you didn't knowingly do so, but you don't want to be selling something under an impression or some sort of notion that they're getting something that they're actually not getting at the end of the day.
All right, guys. Well, that is probably it for today's episode. Then make sure, if you're a subscriber, we'd appreciate if you subscribe, especially if you listen this long into the video. We'd appreciate it. Helps the channel grow, helps other people find our content. We want to make sure we can grow the Spitballin family. And if you're listening on Spotify, make sure you save it there and go follow us on Instagram.